All right, welcome, fellow men, back to another Wednesday training that I like to do. Every Wednesday, I go live in my group, First Responder Fathers, men that want to build elite and unshakable marriages, as well as build deep connection with their kids. I find this work to be so important because if you're not in tune with doing the work, guess what? If these old or the old stories start to come back. And so even if you're forming new habits and you're getting really good at these things, they will start to creep back in if you're not consistent. And sometimes even when you are consistent, the old problems that you thought you bypassed and you got rid of, they creep up again. And so this work is a lifelong journey. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Evan. I've been married for 11 years. I have two boys, 9 and 6, and I was a first responder, a police officer for almost 15 years. Since then, in the last 2 years, I've launched my coaching business. I was a life coach, health coach, holistic health coach. And I wrote a book called Ignite that went bestseller. So if you have any questions about health and detox and mindset and fitness, go get the book. It's actually, matter of fact, just shoot me. If you comment below or drop me a line, I'll send you the book for free. You just got to pay for shipping. But really over the last 2 years, I have struggled with my marriage and all these certifications, all the seminars I've done. Nothing could prepare me or make me a better father, make me a better husband. All this work, all these certifications and, seminars, it didn't matter. I was still struggling. I was still in pain and I was confused and I was triggered very, very easily. And sometimes I still am. And I couldn't, but my marriage was always rocky and my relationship with my boys was always tumultuous. I mean, kicking, spitting at me. I didn't know what to do. And in the last 2 years, I feel like I've cracked the code. I figured it out, and I've started to dial things in. And I am on a mission to empower so many other men and fathers that want to do the same that I've done, to completely do a 180 and realize that your marriage is awesome and you can also have an amazing family life and marriage. It's actually possible. And so every week, I like to do a quick little training. If you're not in my first responder fathers group, drop me a line below, get in the group. We got a great group of men that we're building this brotherhood. And I think having other men to hold us accountable, to be able to share ideas and what's going on in our own life and how we can support each other and get better, that was one of the ways that I got better. And so if you're looking to level up in any way, drop me a line or get into the group and I'll send you a link so that we can get you in there and help you out. Now, without further ado, let me go over this because this has been an issue in my own life in the last couple weeks. Is your kids, are they triggering you? Are you finding yourself overreacting over simple things? Or maybe they're big things, but you feel like they're big things and you're starting to overreact and you're yelling and there's all this anger. Or maybe they're just like peeving you. You can't figure it out. Well, here's some of the things. I'm going to give you 3 tips. These are some of the things that I've been doing to help me start to reverse this behavior because it's not good. And my wife has been calling me on it. And I've got other men that I reach out to, and they're holding me accountable and they're saying the same thing. And so here's some tips. I think these are going to be really, really valuable for you. And I only want to spend like 5 minutes kind of detailing these things. But remember, if you're feeling triggered, it is probably from an old childhood wound. And that that is something that you were probably hurt with. Maybe you were denied. Maybe you were, there was, so either way, it happened most likely in childhood. And because of that, you develop this very big protective mechanism, a shield, if you will. And as first responders and military, and we tend to wear this armor, this protective shield, right? Don't we? I mean, you think about it, our gear that we wear. If you're a firefighter or a paramedic, anybody in the first responder community, you understand, like, you're always wearing this armor to protect yourself. Well, a lot of times we wear this armor to protect ourselves from old wounds because we want to avoid it. We don't want to ever feel that pain that we once felt as a kid. And so we develop these mechanisms. And so many of us are not even aware of it, is what happens. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you that you should start doing is journaling. And what I would do is just start keeping track of when you are getting annoyed, when you are getting angry. What are the activities? What is coming up for you that is creating this anger? Because a lot of times, if you're just like, yeah, well, I got angry and it's probably because of this. Yes, that's good. You're building at least a sense of awareness, but usually doing the deep work is the journaling. It's the writing it down. It's the seeing it on paper. It's getting these thoughts out of your head and visualizing and seeing what is going on. And that's going to help you start to also see what is going on in your inner workings. But at the same time, that's going to help you and give you a better ability to kind of grasp what are these deep-seated things and when are they triggering you? And then you can even keep a journal and also track when they're happening. That's also a good idea. You can actually do it. And here's the thing. When people hear me talk about journaling, they're like, yeah, like I know I need to do it. Guys, just do it for like 1 week. Do it for 1 day. Make it really small. You don't need to always be doing this for the rest of your life. If you do it just for 1 week, I guarantee you will get so much transformation and you will start to be way less angry because you're going to be way ahead of the game and understand, oh, yeah, that's right. This is me getting angry. This is when I get triggered. I know this about myself. Then you can actually rely on your wife and your kids. You can tell them, like, hey, these things come up for me. It's not your fault. It's my fault. And I'm dealing with it. And that is a really, really good way to start to get these, be aware of these feelings and start to do something about it. So that's number one. The second thing is pretty obvious, and guys will tell me about all the time, is they're not present. And yeah, it's obviously easy for me to say that. And then it's a harder thing to be present. We know that, right? But the reason I bring this up is think about it from a logical standpoint. If you're not present, you're either in the future or you're in the past. And I know for me, the last 2 weeks, I've been just working really, really hard, more so than than I have in the last year, because I have this big launch coming up. And so I have not been present. And so because of that, even though I leave the office, I've got all these ideas in my head. I've got all these things I need to do or haven't done. And because of that, it's triggering me and I have less patience because I'm not in the now. If I was just in the now and I was just focusing on everything happening right at this very moment and enjoying the moment and feeling how beautiful and present it is just to be alive with my kids, well, then I would not I would have the capacity, I would have the bandwidth to be present and not overreact. So a lot of our overreaction, and for example, I was just on the, I was watching my kids last night, but I was on my phone with my mom, so I was not present. Something happened. They were almost, I thought one of them was going to get hurt, so I yelled at him, and that created this friction between us because I wasn't present. I was on the phone, and I was like, I don't have time to actually deal with you and react in a way that's appropriate or maybe more thoughtful. At least that's what I thought, right? And so that created a lot of friction. And so think about that. Most of the time you're not present. So start developing. You do your journal, you start to see, okay, these are the things, this is when I'm getting triggered. Then start to develop. Maybe you can anchor when I'm triggered, I'm going to do this. I'm going to focus on my breath. I'm going to detach from being angry and realize that has nothing to do with me. Has nothing to do with my kids, it has everything to do with me. And I am going to be present in this moment and just come back into presence. Usually the easiest way is to just use your breath. So just breathing into your belly. Maybe you even need to walk away from the situation, take 5 minutes and breathe into that lower belly, breathe into the heart. And what they've shown over this is that you build this coherence effect, right? And when you are in a coherent state, your heartbeat, that energy affects your family, your kids, and everybody else, and their energy changes. So it's actually really, really powerful. So that's number two, not being present. And then the last one I'm going to tell you, and you guys will like this because I think most of us are doers, right? We are operators, and this is really easy for us to understand, but you got to form a plan. We form plans when we hit houses. We form plans if you're a firefighter before you know exactly your SOPs and what you're going to do, right? If you're in the military, what have you. You guys have plans, but a lot of us don't make plans for our own family. We don't make plans for what we're going to do when things go awry. We don't make plans or a mission for this is how I'm going to act. This is the SOP of what I'm going to do so that if I do get triggered, if I do become overreactive, if there is this childhood wound that I'm just still not really sure about, but it's coming up and it's creating a lot of anger because I wasn't allowed to express myself as a kid, well, then we need to have a plan of what we're going to do. I'm going to do some belly breathing. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to express myself to my kids and say, hey, I'm getting really triggered. I'm getting really angry. Go through this so that you have that mental blueprint. Something I talk about a lot, these mental blueprints, and Tony Blauer, one of the most world-renowned self-defense experts, we talk about on the podcast too, as well as forming these mental blueprints and how important it is for self-defense, believe it or not, and fear management, right? Well, it's the same thing. You got to have these mental blueprints of where you're going to go when you are in danger, because when you are triggered by fear or fight or flight, which is our amygdala, that's that hijack, right? We go back into this primal brain because our brains are hardwired for survival. And so when you have an old childhood wound, usually your amygdala is getting hijacked, right? That's the fight or flight part of the brain. And that is not your prefrontal cortex, which is that executive decision-making and very logical decision-making. It's the amygdala hijack. So we need mental blueprints to guide us out of that, and we can re-engage the prefrontal cortex so that we do become and we show up more thoughtful. And that's the key. So those were the three things. Again, number one, journaling. Okay. I'll put them on the screen here. Number one, journaling. Number two, presence. Figure out how to do that. Usually anchor it to your triggers. And then three, formulate a plan. Guys, you start doing this, because I just started doing this I had to go over these things because I was dealing with issues, right? And so again, like, you never made it to the mountain. You never, oh yeah, I made it, I'm just the best dad ever. No, it's constant, it's work, right? So I know these are going to be really helpful for you. Again, if you're having struggles in your marriage, or you're having issues with your kids, get in the first responder free Facebook group. Shoot me, just drop me a line, or drop me a hashtag right now. I'm putting a lot of people in the group. I'm using the hashtag hero. So jump into the group, give me the hashtag hero, and I'm going to start adding people into this elite group. And if you just want to level up your life in any way, or reach out to me. I mean, just shoot me a DM if it's just off the side. You have a question, I would love to hear, and I want to know more, because at the end of the day, I want to see you doing better, because I know what it's like. And when your relationships are strained, everything's strained. You can't be a good operator at your work. And man, there's a lot of, your health usually gets suffered, your mindset, and so many things, and your heart set, and your business, your career, whatever it is. It's really hard to do that when relationships are strained. So I know, and I hope this was helpful for all you guys out there. Happy Wednesday. Drop me a line and have an amazing rest of your week.